Have you ever made a mistake that felt like the end of the world? What if I told you that some of our biggest failures and wrong turns are actually leading us to exactly where we're supposed to be? I'm about to share 3 true stories that prove sometimes the universe has a plan for us that we can't even see. The first story is about a wrong turn that changed everything. The second is about a message that arrived decades too late. And the third is my own story of how my biggest public failure became my greatest private blessing. Stay till the end. Story 1. The wrong turn. It was one of those nights that just felt heavy. My friend Anya had just finished a double shift at the hospital. It was after 1 a.m. The rain was coming down in sheets, and all she could think about was her bed. She was so exhausted that she missed her usual exit on the highway. Before she knew it, she was in a part of the city she didn't recognize. Dimly lit streets, closed warehouses, no one around. Her phone battery died right as her Maps app rerouted. Complete silence, except for the rain pounding on her roof. She felt a knot of panic in her stomach. She drove slowly, looking for any sign of life, any open store where she could ask for directions or charge her phone. Just as she was about to pull over and cry, she saw a faint glow in the distance. A small old-school diner, the kind with neon signs and booths, was still open. It looked like a scene from another time. She pulled into the nearly empty parking lot, took a deep breath, and made a run for the door. Inside, it was warm and smelled like coffee and grease. An older man was behind the counter, wiping it down. And then she heard a voice from the kitchen window. "Order up." A guy in a cook's apron turned around, holding a plate. Their eyes met. It was Mark. Her Mark. The one who had asked her to senior prom, and she'd said no because she was too shy. The one she thought about for years but never had the courage to look up. He looked exactly the same, just a little taller, a little more tired around the eyes. "Anya," he said, his voice full of disbelief. He came out from the kitchen. He owned the place, he told her. It was his dad's old diner, and he'd taken it over. He gave her a dry towel, a charger for her phone, and a cup of coffee. They talked until the rain stopped. They talked until the sun started to come up. 7 years later, they own that diner together. They're married with a little girl who loves pancakes. Anya says sometimes she still thinks about that night, the panic, the rain, the dead phone. She doesn't see a mistake anymore. She sees the night the universe handed her a second chance. She Neve's story too. The lost letter me uncle carried a quiet sadness with him for most of his life. His father, my grandfather, passed away from a sudden illness when my uncle was only 14. They never got to have those big, important conversations. The one question that haunted my uncle, even 30 years later, was simple. What was his father's biggest dream for him? Was it for him to be successful? To be rich? To be a good man? He'd ask other family members, but no one knew for sure. It was a private thought, a quiet hope that his father had taken with him. My uncle built a good life. He had a family, a solid job, but he always felt like he was missing the final instruction, the true north from his dad. Last summer, he decided it was finally time to clean out the attic of our old family home. It was full of decades of memories, dust, and boxes no one had opened in years. He was about to call it a day when he saw a small wooden chest tucked away in the farthest corner, under an old blanket. It had his father's initials carved on the top. His hands were shaking as he opened it. Inside were old photographs, his father's pocket watch, a bundle of letters tied with a ribbon. And one envelope, slightly yellowed, had my uncle's name on it, in his father's distinctive handwriting. He sat down right there on the dusty attic floor and opened it. It was a short letter. His father must have written it in his final days, when he was too weak to speak. It was full of simple fatherly advice. Be kind, work hard, look after your mother. But it was the last paragraph that made my uncle break down. He read it aloud to me later, his voice thick with emotion. It said, "And son, my greatest dream for you is not a big house or a fancy title. I don't dream of your success. I dream of your peace. I dream that you find a happiness so quiet and so complete that you never feel the need to prove it to anyone else in the world. Just know it and hold it, and that will be enough for me." For 30 years, the answer had been waiting. Right there, in the silence of that attic. Proof that a parent's love never real. Story 3. The unlikely mentor. Oh, this is my story. And it's one I was ashamed of for a very long time. A few years ago, I started a business. I poured every bit of my savings, my time, my heart into it. I dreamed about it. I worked 18-hour days, For a little while, it seemed like it was working. And then all at once, it wasn't. A big client pulled out. A new competitor emerged. My mistakes started to pile up. Within a year, it was over. I had to shut it down. I had to let people go. I had to face my family and friends and tell them I had lost it all. The failure felt so public, so humiliating. I felt like I had my identity stripped away. I wasn't an entrepreneur. I was a failure. 4 months and I hid. I was too embarrassed to even update my LinkedIn. I felt like that failure was a brand on my forehead that everyone could see. Then, about a year later, I got a message from a stranger. She said a mutual friend had given her my name. She was starting a business in the same field I had crashed and burned in. And she said something that stunned me. She said, "I heard about what happened with your company. I was wondering, can I buy you coffee and ask you about it? I really want to learn what not to do." It was the first time anyone had framed my failure as valuable, as experience. We met for coffee. I told her everything. All my mistakes, my ego, my missteps, the exact moments I knew it was over. I held nothing back. She took pages of notes. That one coffee turned into a weekly check-in. I became her unofficial, unpaid advisor. I was helping her navigate the exact pitfalls that had sunk me. Her company took off. It grew. It succeeded. And at her launch party, she gave a speech. And she said, "There's one person here without whom none of this would have been possible. She isn't an investor or my co-founder. She's my mentor." And she taught me everything she knew by bravely sharing everything she lost. I cried in the back of the room. That night, I finally understood. My failure was never the end of my story. It was just the messy, painful, necessary beginning of someone else's. And in helping her, I found a purpose, a quiet, powerful purpose that was so much greater than my own success had ever been. Why leaves you daughter saw coming? So, a wrong turn in the rain, a letter in an attic, and a very public failure. 3 stories that all led to something beautiful. Which one resonated with you the most? Let me know in the comments, story 1, story 2, or story 3. Share your own story down below. And if this video reminded you that there's a plan for you even when you can't see it, make sure to like this video and follow for more. Thanks for watching.